Good morning. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Michael here at Deep States Mind and Wellness. I am a hypnotherapist, an NLP practitioner, and a life coach. And I started my business. I'll give you a little bit of background about myself, and let's chit chat. Let's talk a little bit. I'm going to let you guys ask some questions. Some of you on YouTube have been DMing me. I will make sure that I answer those today when I get back in for last Monday. Those of you on Facebook, a lot of you are not active on Facebook. We may be changing the time for Facebook. Not quite sure yet how that's going to work out. We're trying to find a time that is good for all of you guys. And as you can see, there's a scroll on the bottom, If you click on that or go to that, actually just open up another tab and go to that scroll. Just go to streamyard.com/Facebook and you can go ahead and click on that. It's just giving Facebook the authorization to let the program I use to come online, and you can ask questions, and then I can also bring you on if you want your question to be shared with everybody. And if it's a good question, which there's no bad question, right? Anyway, I will give you a little bit of background about myself. My name is Michael Almers. Like I said, I am a clinical hypnotherapist and neurolinguistic programmer. I started business a long, long time ago. So originally, if you want to go all the way back to the beginning, I was actually I started doing in high school selling Chris. They used to nobody has an idea that's anybody who's under 40 probably does not remember this, but I started doing selling Christmas cards from door to door one holiday season, and you would go in, you'd knock on the door, right? Just so crazy. I mean, you just talk about getting your child abducted. I would go door to door on my bike, and then I would show them a folder that had different Christmas papers, it had different Christmas cards, it had Christmas gifts, things that you could order. And then what would happen was a company would submit it, right? And the company would go in and they would deliver this to the person's home address, and then they could send it to whoever they wanted to, or they could use the Christmas cards and whatever. So that was one of the first businesses I can remember actually doing. Then from there, I ended up going in and started selling. I can't remember what it's called. It was vitamins and stuff that was coming online, and they had water purifiers and stuff. I lived in Arizona, right? So we knew that if we could sell, the water was pretty bad. We knew that it was very, very had a lot of calcium, and it was just everything turned white with it. So Shackley, that's what it was called. So Shackley had water purifiers at the time, and I started utilizing them and selling those as well, and that was really good money. Then from there, I went to work for a company called Thousand Trails. Thousand Trails was a resort services, and the idea or the concept, they're kind of like KOA camp, which I think still exists. But you would sell. We had a big phone room with about larger than the phone room you're seeing behind me, than the office you're seeing behind me. But everybody had cubicles with phones, and we would get these runs from the state of Arizona that would tell you who bought a motorhome and what size your motorhome and what brand it was. And you would just call in. I ran my team from there. They would call in, invite people to come visit the properties all over the country. And when they came to visit a property, they would get either a VCR, which some of you may not remember what that was. Google it. And then sometimes they would end up getting, like, a $200 gift card, stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. And then when we sold, the incentive was every time you had somebody just come and look, you get $50. So it was very profitable, not just for my phone room operations people, but also for myself, because I was in high school making really, really good money. I loved it, loved it, loved it. Sales are awesome, and I think it's great. It's a good way to tell a story and to learn about your client, right? To really understand um, the client before you service them or before you give them what it is they're looking for. Because a lot of times what happens, I think, is that the client doesn't know what they need, and you're offering a service. So it's your job to kind of find out what they need and if it works for them. And that was really kind of cool, because now people had this giant RV and didn't know what to do with it, right? They were stuck. They didn't know where to go. Yeah, they could camp out in the middle of nowhere, but really they had no services. So this kind of offered a whole package in one. So it was great. I loved it. Then from there, I went into resort services and operations as a first just working in the laundry room and stuffing the machines, and so the housekeepers would bring in all the laundry and shove it into these big giant loaders, huge loaders, and they get to start washing those loaders, in the loaders and dryers. Take it in another room, and all the girls would come in and the guys would come in and just start folding everything. And sometimes if I had extra time, I'd fold. So I started out as an entrepreneur at a very, very young age. I moved out to Los Angeles because I started working for Delta Airlines, and I started. Sedona was my hometown, and I knew that if I could hit that mystical moment, right? The aha moment, and the aha moment was that there were a lot of people coming in something called a conversions, and it was in the early 80s, mid 80s, I believe it was. But supposedly there's a rock in Sedona called Bell Rock, and Bell Rock was had a UFO underneath it. It was going to crash up through the top and take off. Thousands and thousands of people came from all over the world to that event, and I knew that was coming probably 2 years prior. I was already working for the airline industry, and I ended up going out and bringing in some of the sand from my parents' property, which was very beautiful red rock. It's just surrounded by red rock. I put it into a little tiny glass vial, and I put it on a gold plated chain, and those are selling I think for $9.95. And I opened up a PO box out in LA where I was living, and I would come home from flying, and I would fill those orders. So that was kind of cool. I mean, that did really, really well. So entrepreneurship is kind of something that's always been in my blood, right? I've always my father owned a restaurant, he owned a bar, so it's something that was always in my blood, and something I've always felt like, oh my gosh, So it's just what part of it for me is a thrill of being able to sell. Another part of it is being able to sell something that I know that people are going to enjoy, something that I can give people that will change their life a little bit. It'll give them long term or short term gratification. Then I started becoming a hypnotist, and I want to talk a little bit about that, a little more in depth with that, because that's when I really started a business, right? Because all the other times, I mean, I would just go in, and I think even when I was doing the little vials, I think the only thing I had done was I did DBA. I didn't have anything else. A DBA because I needed the DBA in order to open the PO box, right? So I did what I had to do to get it done, and I will talk a little bit about that, starting a business and just doing things just to get it going. And you sometimes you do, and sometimes I'm going to say off the books that is off the video, that sometimes that is what you want to do, but you want to kind of do things a little bit correctly, and I've kind of learned that through my journey and through my pathway. So I was working with Delta Airlines for 16 and a half years, and I guess probably I was doing the little necklaces all the way back when it must have been 90s. It must have been the 90s when that happened, because I had already been there for a little while. But when I started this business, Deeper States Mind and Wellness, it started out as Deeper States Hypnotherapy. And I want to tell you, yes, you need to start a business name. That's probably your first avenue, is think about what you want your business to be. Think about what it represents. Who are the people it represents? And initially I started just kind of using my name, Michael Almers. But the thing is that nobody's Googling you. Nobody's looking for Michael Almers. They're looking for hypnotherapy. They're looking for NLP. They're looking for stop smoking programs. They're looking for weight loss. So Deeper States Hypnotherapy worked, but you got to remember also that in the 90s and 80s and even the 2000s, right, it was still kind of, people were leery about hypnotherapy, because the only thing they really had in their mindset was the pocket watch and going in and hypnotizing people, and getting people to do the things they didn't want to do, and all the other bullshit that comes with hypnosis and NLP. Therapy period, there were sometimes I'd go to events that were rural events, and they would be like, oh my god, I wouldn't even go to a psychiatrist, I wouldn't even go see a marriage and family therapist, because they get in your head. So there's a lot of crazy mindset that went along with therapy period, and sometimes it still does, but it's very rare. I find it very, very rare. But I remember that I went in and I wrote down all these names. I think I had something like 50 names for my company. And I went in and I worked for the airline, right? So every trip, every flight, every leg of my flight, I would talk to the flight attendants and pilots sometimes. And I would say, look, you guys, I was trying to start a new business. This is the idea, the concept. What do you recommend? And just pick the ones that you think are best. So out of 50, I think I had people all over the place. I mean, they were scattered all over the place. And some of them knew the business, some had no idea what it was. So it's really important that when you're coming up with a business name, you hone in on it. And think about your long term. Don't think about what it's going to be like just in the moment, right? Because in the moment, it's not really, it's an impulse. It's not something that's going to be long term for you. You got to think about what your long term business is going to be, and what does it look like to you. It's so important to manifest that in your head. And being a hypnotist and an NLP practitioner, that's one thing I really learned. You believe it, you conceive it, right? If you can't believe it, you're not going to conceive it. So as that kept going on, I think I maybe spent like a year, 6 months to a year trying to figure out a business name. And then we came up with Deeper States Hypnotherapy. Don't get stuck on the name because that was a lot of wasted time for me in a way, because what I started doing was, with the microphone, even, I mean, the microphones I have now, Blue Yeti is what I use, and that's a really great, great microphone. The Blue Yeti is inexpensive. You can find it still sometimes on OfferUp, but they have new versions of this, which are a little bit cleaner, a little bit more crisp. When it comes to a microphone, you got to find a microphone that sounds good with your voice and something that you can modulate, so it kind of closes out. I mean, I have a new puppy here, and I don't, sometimes you'll hear the puppy, sometimes you won't, because I need to actually get something that'll surround that microphone and isolate it, so I'm not getting anything outside of my door. But don't spend a huge amount of time on your business, on your business name, because remember, you can always add something to it or remove it. So move forward. So deeper states hypnotherapy, as we kept going on, I was like, okay, there's not enough here. It's not, people are freaking out. People are like, oh my God, hypnotherapy, you're going to do mind control on me. So I decided at that point that there had to be a change. And during that time, I didn't stop. I kept recording a hypnosis MP3 for people that would start doing our program. I recorded a stop smoking MP3, and I think I recorded a weight loss MP3 a little bit down the road. And during the time that you're coming up with a business name, don't stop. That's the biggest piece of advice I can give you, is that when you're coming up with logistics, don't stop building, because that way you want to be able to come out of your business, out of the gate doing business, right? So don't get stuck on that. Make sure that you have those resources and build on that toolbox, so that when you come out of the gate with a business name, and we'll talk about licensing in a minute. When you come out with everything you need, that you actually have product that you can start to deliver. Otherwise, you'll have customers coming to you and have no idea what you're going to do. How are you setting up the business? What do you want to do? What's your services, right? So it's really, really important. Don't get stuck on that name. I would suggest spend maybe 6 months on that maximum, and that's really pushing it, because remember, you can always come back in and revamp the name. You can add to it. So for us, later down the road, as we started adding candles and lotions and homemade soap, which was a wellness site at Deeper States Mind and Wellness, I decided at that point that it was going to be Deeper States Mind and Wellness and no longer just Deeper States Hypnotherapy. That took the edge off of it. So think about that. And once you build a brand with the company name at the beginning, Deeper States, right, we were able to morph into that without having a huge, scary transition of people like not knowing who you were. Branding your name is very, very important. You want people to think about it. Also come up with a tagline. For us, initially, it was Deeper States Mind and Wellness, creating your life by design. People would call my office and say, hey, Michael, I want to talk to you because I want to create my life by design. And we may actually pull that back. It was really good. And now the way things are in the world, it's kind of important to give people back control. Now it's just Deeper States Mind and Wellness, and we have a tagline that we don't even use anymore. Come up with who your company is. What do you represent? What's your purpose? What's your intent? Because you want people to know that what is your service? I mean, and this is my personal aspect. So this may not resonate with you, but for me, I kind of felt like we're all here to serve. We're all here to serve the world and to do things for the world that gives back. Yes, but we're here to serve each other. So that's why I ended up picking what I did and doing what I did and doing what I do now, right? So one thing I highly recommend is do a business plan. Once you got your name, once you got your DBA, you're doing business as, I would get that right away. It's cheap. It's going to cost you maybe $45. And then depending on where you are, what city you're in, what state you're in, look into that information. But I definitely would tell you, get your DBA. If you don't get your DBA, you're not going to be able to get bank accounts. You're not going to be able to get post office boxes. You're not going to be able to get, and don't feel like you have to have a brick and mortar. And I'm going to tell you, that's something I learned the hard way. I mean, I had a brick and mortar for the last 20 some years. And all my competition was all online already. My competition had been doing stuff online forever. There's coaches out there that are making $1 million a year doing what I do. And I just did not take that into consideration. And that's another thing I learned, is that when you're in your office space, nothing exists beyond your office space. I'm always taking continual education and everything else. I'm going to new classes, new courses, as much as I can. The pandemic slowed that down. But every year I educate myself in something. I mean, even last year I went to the White Label Conference, which taught us ideas and understandings of how to build on your business and how to be able to, like, creating boxes and packaging and all that stuff for you so you didn't have to do all that. Do a business plan. So plan your future with your business plan. Start seeing where you're going. Initialize what's your action. What's your purpose? What's going to happen when you get 600 clients a month if you're doing something big, right? I'm going way out there. 600 people a month, and how do you grow if it's just you? How do you expand? So a business plan gives you the understanding of what happens year by year, what happens long term, and what's going to happen short term. It'll give you an idea or a perception of what's going to happen, whether you're going to lose your shorts or not, right? So it kind of will give you an inside set. And one thing I'm gonna do with you guys, if you're watching this, and if you like a free business plan, DM me and I will get that out to you. You guys just fill it in, and it'll help you kind of put it together. I always run it by an entrepreneur or by somebody who is already in business, or even an attorney. Can tell you, well, this looks good. The only thing is you're expecting this to happen, and that might not happen. So I'll say always try to get everything looked at by somebody else, right? It's always better to have a second pair of eyes and a second brain that's going to help you get through that. Practice making your products. Always keep making products, because you can always do. One of my clients is saying the other day, I'm working with her, and she's like, well, what happens if I make a bar of soap and it's not the best bar of soap? Well, give it to people first. Don't and while you're giving it to people, get a testimonial from those soaps, because you're going to use those when you actually launch your company, right? When you launch your business. So whatever it is, give. Take in all the reviews you can. That way, when you come in, you've got these reviews that are already created you can utilize in your company. Making new product all the time, you can always build that one bar of soap and say, okay, this is lavender 2.2, right? This is lavender 3.4. This is lavender day glow. This is lavender night dreams. I mean, you can always restructure, rebrand, whatever the internal products are. So don't be afraid to do that. Make, create product, create programs, create, right? And I think that's why most of you are business owners or entrepreneurs are looking to get away from corporate businesses, because you want to take it on your own. You have this creativity inside of you that's just wanting to explode and blossom, but you don't know where to go. So I think it's really important. I'm kind of giving you the basics right now. Always practice making new product. It's very important. Make enough products so you can start running when you hit the ground. So, and we talked a little bit about that. Make sure you have an arsenal of product, because that kind of happened to me. So I had people coming in and starting to do my hypnosis programs. For visualization, relaxation, I started very basic. Visualization, relaxation, and stop smoking. A lot of hypnotists would be like, oh my God, stop smoking is horrible. I could never do it. That's not what I want to start with. And that's okay. That's up to you. You got to know what is in your tire well that you can do without struggling or having to figure a lot out, right? Because the whole idea is to start getting seed money so you can keep growing. And one thing I would say is, don't walk away from your day job if you're not prepared. Because if you walk away from your day job and you think you're prepared and you're not, you're going to fail. You will lose everything. And I've seen not just my clients doing that. They come to me after they've tried to do something on their own without getting any type of coaching or any type of belief system changes, and they'll fail. They start failing. And if you hit a certain point where you start to fail, you're not going to recover. I promise you that, unless you put things into play immediately and start going after it a different way. Keep that in mind. It's very, very important. Let's talk about DBA and licensing. So the DBA is crucial, all right, because you can't do anything without it. You can't get bank accounts. You can't get mailboxes. You can't get advertising products with it and not pay taxes on it. You can't defer it. You cannot get companies to give you product and say, okay, we'll give you a 30-day net or a 60-day net without having your DBA. It's very, very important. And licensing, if you're a reseller, you've got to have your licensing. Otherwise, you're going to pay tax on everything. You're going to double tax yourself, right? You pay taxes when you purchase your product you're going to pay taxes when you buy the product to create your product. You're going to pay taxes when you sell your product. So it's real important to get that set up if you're selling tangible products, all right? If you're not selling tangible products, start with your DBA first. and get your DBA set up so you can at least start building your company name. Another thing you can do, let's say you got your company name and you're not really stuck on that. You're not real sure if that's what's going to be for the rest of your 25, 30 years of career, right? The good thing is that you can always add on to your DBA. So you can take the initial DBA, continue doing business as, and then you can add another DBA underneath that. Just I think it's like $25 more here in the state of California. Connect that, and then those two DBAs will process with each other. So you can now actually add that to your bank accounts and everything else, and pick the one you like. Just operate under the DBA that you like. So resale licensing is important if you're carrying product. You can get away with that for a little bit, but they're going to come after you. Eventually, they're going to be like, hey, where's this income coming from? Especially nowadays. So during the one of the Bush administrations, they started something where they watched everything funneling into your account. So it's real important to do it. Start off properly with that, because you don't. If anybody, and one thing I'll tell you is anybody in the world you don't want to mess with is the IRS. They know everything, right? They will come and get you. At some point in your business, they will come, they will find you, and they will get you. So if you're going to do it right, and step out of the gate with at least your DBA. And if you're working with a brick and mortar in a city, you need to have a business license immediately. Unless you're not doing tangible product. Now remember, I'll talk about the differences between those in a minute. If you're a hypnotherapist and you're just starting out and you're giving away free product, do you really need insurance? Possibly. But if I'm giving it to my friends and family, then I really don't. But now that we're creating bath soaps and lotions and candles and everything else, yeah, definitely, highly. When I started opening offices and seeing clients one-on-one, I had to have basic insurance. I think it's important to do that. But can you operate without it at the beginning? Absolutely, because it's a findings place, right? We're finding what works. We're finding what won't work. We're finding what the logo looks like. We're finding what it's a finding for your business to be able to create ideas and behaviors so that you know that when you come out 100% that you're going to be able to operate fully in what you're doing. So as you grow, and as you start to build into a real business and getting yourself out off into the real world, right? The real business world, I recommend that you do get some type of business insurance, even if it's just liability. When you first start, and then add on to it indemnity insurance and keep building onto that. It's important. And if any of you are stuck not knowing where to go for insurance, you guys can DM me. I'll help you with that. If you're in the state of California, other states I don't know, but I can help you with that as well. Keep in mind, and this is really, really important, keep in mind what your business is all about, okay? Don't lose perspective of what you're trying to do, because that becomes the mind becomes cluttered, and the ideas become very cluttered, and it starts to show in what it is that you're putting out to the public and what services you're offering. So know your niche. So we do hypnotherapy and NLP. That's part of my main program, right? And then the secondary is lotions, bath salts. I mean, anything that's mind and body, right? So mind and body. If you get too diluted, you're going to find that you don't hone in on anything, and your advertising is very, very difficult, especially online now. The way it is these days, the more you hone in on what you're advertising, the more you can hone in on what your ads are going to look like and what's going to do an ROI, a return on investment for you. Marketing on Instagram and Facebook are not too difficult, but it is a monster of its own. So you want to make sure that what your advertising is. I mean, I could advertise hypnotherapy and NLP, but that's such a wide stroke. It's taking a paintbrush and just such a wide stroke across the internet that it's not going to convert for me. I'm not going to get people that are interested in specifics. So if I did an ad that's specific on Facebook that is depression and anxiety, and you have to watch how you advertise with that. We'll talk a little bit as we go deeper into the social media platforms. On our hopefully I can get people going into a private group, because a lot of you may be like, I'm never going to advertise on Facebook and Instagram. Even today, I have people with that mentality, and it's okay. I mean, it's all right. You have maybe you have an email list that's 10,000 people. You don't really need to advertise on social media, right? Your people are true and tried. They keep coming back for more. But if you're not, and you don't, then you really need to start learning how to work on social media and whatever platform it is that you want. I've told you guys this before when I've done these, is that, and for the people that do our mastermind course, remember that you cannot be everything to everybody, because if you try to do that, it's never going to be fruitful to you. You're never going to be able to pick the fruit that you're harvesting 100%, right? Your tree will have so many different types of fruit that when you go to pick the fruit to sell, some people are going to want lemons, some people are going to want apples, some people are going to want, and it just goes on, and it dilutes your brand, it dilutes your product. So keep that in mind. And I see on YouTube we have 5 people coming in. I cannot see you guys today. I see somebody's on Facebook, kind of hanging out, which if you want to leave a question for me, you're more than welcome to. I will address it. I get most of my questions asked when I am not online and people are able to actually like watch the replay. So, and I do get those back to you guys. I will answer you, DM me, or just, if you want to send me an email, you can. It's michael@deeperstate.com. I try to answer most of my emails. Sometimes it gets crazy. We get like 250 emails a day, and I can't get to you for a couple weeks or sometimes a week. But for now, DM is the quickest. I always have my phone with me, and if my assistant believes that it's something crucial, they'll get it to me immediately. Otherwise, I'll get back to you within a day or two. But that's kind of my ideas and my thought processes on how to start your business. So remember, business name is crucial. Don't get stuck on that. You get stuck on that for too long, you're going to be just running in circles, and there's never the perfect business name, right? There's never the perfect one. You can always revamp it, change it, restructure it, rebuild it. Because if you go with one thing for a while and you start building clients, you put them in an email list, right? An autoresponder. This way you at least have got them connected to you, and you start working that and building that. It's really, really important. But don't spend a year working on a business name, because you're never going to go past that. Do your business plan. I recommend that you do the business plan right away. For me, it was really crucial because a friend of mine actually worked with a nonprofit. He came in and helped me figure out what my business plan looked like, what the prospectus of my company looked like over the next 10 years. And one of the biggest things, and I'll tell you, so one of the things we got stuck on was we hit a wall where it was going to be, well, you have so many clients, how do you service them? It's only you. So before the pandemic, we were in the process of growing, and I had 2 therapists that would come in and work with clients, and that was making it a little bit easier. We started kind of growing, and then the pandemic hit. So do I think that your business plan is going to be 100% viable right now? I don't. I can't say that anymore, because I am a everything's volatile, right? I mean, so you got to kind of plan for the future, thinking, oh my God, what happens if there is a pandemic? What happens if a meteorite hits the world? Well, you got to deal with it somehow, right? So the business plan is just going to give you a stepping stone or an idea or a pathway that's going to help you get from point A to point B, and it really makes you think. So again, I want to open that up to you. If you guys want to get a free download business plan, DM me. I will put you in our email list, and we can get that out to you. All right, and then you can just fill it out and work through it, and then talk to your friends and family. I would try not to talk to my family, because this is the biggest thing: is they want you safe. They're going to keep you safe. So nobody's going to ever want you to quit your job, right? Because that's secure. It's something maybe you've done for 20 years and now you want out. Or maybe it's something you've done for 5 years, but still it's paid your bills, and your family's going to be really concerned about you losing everything. So it really is up to you. I mean, some of us have, I guess, a stronger nervous system than others. I came into this leaving the airline industry thinking that if I lived under a bridge, then so be it. But I wanted to do something, what was in my heart, and I wanted to do something that was going to help the world, and that's how I ended up here. So if you can relate to that and you can connect to that, then you're probably an entrepreneur. All right. So continue making product from the very beginning. So we used MP3s for our product. At that time, it was CDs. But continue building your product before you open your doors, and give it to your friends and family. Give that you can give. Give it to your friends and family. Ask them to give you a review of what they think. Did it help them? How did it assist them? Did it make a difference? How did it change their life? Because you'll have products that do change people's lives, right? Even a bar of soap. People will be like, oh my God, I had eczema all my life, and this has just kind of cleared up the eczema, right? I mean, you're going to have people that make huge changes. Get those testimonials early so you can reutilize them as you continue growing, or you even open your doors. Imagine having a website built for you and you have no testimonials, right? So if you open the website and you have testimonials for the last 6 months that you've been creating your company, you come out of the gate with testimonials, and you'll have a testimonial page on your website. Really, really crucial and important. Be sure you create enough product so that when you do open your doors, you have it, especially if you're brick and mortar. You don't want to have, and a friend of mine is having this growing issue right now where she owns a cookie company, and I noticed that she's going out doing pop-ups, but the thing is she runs out early before the event's over, and it's tough because you don't know what's going to be, right? But it's trial and error, and what happens is you learn the numbers. You start learning how much of what's going to sell and how many more do you need. And if this cookie is going to make, or this cog and wheel, right? You want to lose cogs if it's not a cookie. So the cog is selling more than any other cog has sold throughout the last 6 pop-up events, and that's what you need to stick to. Produce more of that and know that the other ones, and sometimes you'll fade some product out. That goes all the way to the creating the brand and the product. If the product is going to phase out, don't be afraid to phase it out. Restructure it, rebuild it, rename something. All right? File your business with the DBA. Get the DBA doing business as. That's going to give you the ability to be able to open bank accounts, to be able to open mailboxes, to be able to get phone lines in your name, to be that way it's under the company name and not under yourself. Does it protect you 100%? Absolutely not. But what it does is it does start creating a credit for your company, for your business. Do a business license in your state, especially if you're going to be brick and mortar, okay? Because that way you want to have the business license already active so you can utilize the business account, and it looks legit. Imagine if you're doing some business with somebody and you go through and they don't even have a business license, right? Or you start doing research on them, they don't even exist as a company. That's not good. And I see a lot of companies out there that do that. Startups mainly do that without having the basics in. Basic insurance is really important. As you start growing, you can do it for a little bit. I would say maybe don't go any further than probably 6 months, but I would say do it right away. It just depends on what kind of business you're doing, right? I mean, if you're selling a cog that you created that has a possibility of maybe blowing up like iPhone did, or Android did, I believe, in somebody's hand, then you damn well better have insurance. All right. Keep in mind what your business is all about. Don't go too outside the spectrum because you need to be able to hone in and find your niche. Work on your niche. And I'm not saying your niche has to be one thing. It's better that way. But if it's not, have 3 niches and make that be your repertoire. Make that be what it is that you're good at. All right, you guys, it's 9:33 Pacific Standard Time, and I am out of here. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and please share this. Like and share, and pass it on to people that you think are entrepreneurs, or people that are just sick of being in their company, working for somebody else. And let them know that, we're starting a resource here where people can come in and actually learn and grow and ask questions. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Have an awesome week, you guys. Go out, learn, earn, and be creative.
I think these videos are brilliant, and I'm sure you will like them too. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell.